Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this, what is today, 11th day of April. I got a good show for you tonight. Going to talk about that John Calipari coaching search for Kentucky. Go over a little bit why he took the job in Arkansas. I read today that he was basically talked into the job by one of the founders of Tyson Food Billionaire. Anyways, also J.Simpson. For some of you younger audiences, OJ was this murder trial was trial of a century, like the song said. He accused of killing his ex-wife and a waiter, and we're talking 95 million people watching this guy in a slow-speed car chase in 1994. So 100 million people watch the announcement whether he was guilty or not guilty on the charges here. So I'll go into that. That was the biggest story of the day. Plus, talk about the college basketball championships and more. I got some few other NFL news and notes here. Got a lot of stories I'm just not going to get to today. The OJ thing really caused a lot of buzz around the internet and everything. So stand by. We'll take our first and only break. We'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. I'll be back here in 49 seconds. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty, then I'm back here live. Folks, I know I haven't been on the last few days. I've had my license are about to expire, my driver's license, and I've had to get the friends in Tennessee know this is new Tennessee ID. It's been put off the what do you call it? Not the mandate. The deadline's been put off on getting this because of the COVID years. But I've had to go through, take care of some business outside of work, go down, get another birth certificate, get some stuff from the DMV, actually physically. Even in 2024, had to wait at the DMV to get this thing taken care of. And it took two days. And, of course, I had to have 1 day to do my clips here, which I've always got good responses on. So, eventually, the show will get back on a regular 5-day-a-week schedule, but not anytime soon. It's just the way it is right now. Plus, I've had some work to do outside. So, but tune in to some of the replays. I've got some great interviews that many of you may not have seen. Okay. So, had a whole lot of other things I was going to talk about, but this OJ, anybody, for all of my audiences that are 30 years old under, you don't really understand. I get it. It's a little before your time, but I'm telling you, J.Simpson, former running back, Buffalo Bills, USC, Heisman Trophy winner, movie actor. He's on Naked Gun movies in the early 90s. This murder trial it really changed cable TV at the time. I never heard of court TV before. It was just, it was a story. Let me just write down. Let me just go over my notes here. Of course, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. Simpson, 76, passed away today, prostate cancer. I just rewatched the 7-hour documentary. If you get a chance, you can find it on cable, usually on demand. or you can stream it. Look up the OJ Made in America. It's a 7-hour docu-series. It is really fantastic here. But I just, over the last couple of weeks, I've rewatched this 7-hour documentary, best sports doc ever. Talks about his whole childhood, goes all the way back to the 60s with the Watts riots, racial issues when the LAPD, black folks there. It talks about it. He's getting the USC Heisman Trophy winner. He was the most marketable athlete of his time. This guy was doing, after he got out of college, went on to the play for the Bills here. He was doing Hertz commercials. He was not only just doing the commercials, he was doing the printing ads. That was how marketable he was at one time. And I saw this in another documentary about Arnold Schwarzenegger, that he was being thought of to play the Terminator in the 1984 version there, in which ultimately went to Arnold Schwarzenegger. But it wasn't it wasn't sought out to be a good movie for him because he come off as too nice of a guy. Believe that or not. But like I said, in the late 80s, early 90s, you had the Naked Gun movies, Liam Neeson, very funny, very goofy, like those in the Hot Shots type of movies. It's kind of like one of those. But so, all right, now you fast forward to it, June 94. Let me just say this, okay? 12 years old, I was living with my dad in Destin, Florida. School had gotten out. Went up to stay with my mom. Meet up with some of my old friends I went to school with here in the Nashville, Tennessee area. So I go back to my mom's place around the end of May 1994 here. I was about a month, 2 months from turning 13. So I'm watching. I'm a big Sports Center guy. Love sports. I know who OJ was. I'm watching it that Sunday night or the Monday after these murders happen. These supposedly happen on Sunday night, overnight in the Central Time Zone around 10 o'clock local time there. And so I'm watching this stuff. I said, man, I wonder what happened. People around the way, just hearing adults talk, a lot of chatter. What happened to J.Simpson's ex-wife and this waiter? There were talks that maybe she was in some kind of drugs issues and whatnot at that time. Maybe that she owed a drug dealer money and someone killed her. Nobody really didn't think it was OJ at that point. And then a few days go by. Then I'm seeing that he's the only, one news report said O.J. Simpson was the only suspect in that particular trial, in that particular murder. So that's on like a Wednesday, right? On Friday, mom gets paid. I go bowling with a friend of mine. I memorized everything that happened that week. And, we're 12 years old, go bowling, have a good time, meet some young girls. Actually met my first girlfriend of that year. And walk back, and the finals are on. The finals are on one screen, and between the Knicks and the Rockets, and then you got OJ running from the police, driving away from the police in that white Bronco. So, you've got that going on here. All right. And it's getting later at night. The game goes off. And then I flip over to CNN. I'm at my mom's place and I'm watching. It's dark there. And because a lot of people thought he was going to kill himself and everything, they talked him out of the car, arrest him. So it's one of those things you remember, especially if you're a sports fan like me, even at 12, you remember every little detail of what happened that day, that week leading up to him actually getting arrested and charged with those with those double murders. Fast forward to the trial. Okay, I was living back with my dad there. We had a hurricane. I was in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, Bruner Middle School, 8th grade. It was on a Tuesday, October 3rd. I mean, I vividly remember all this stuff. This is how big this thing was. The teachers brought in the big TV on the stand, the rollers, right? She brings in, first of all, we knew a hurricane was heading this way. Hurricane Opal, it turned out to be a big hurricane. And they were kind of winging it. Those last 2 days, raining constantly in the Destin, Fort Walton Beach, Florida area. So they bring these TVs in and turn the OJ trial on. And I'm going to see if I can play this because they found out, we found out that it was going to be, that they had a verdict already. They had a verdict in the OJ trial. Listen, this is from, I got this from the X out. This is the Oprah audience, but I wanted you to hear this. This woman's voice, 95 million people, the woman from the jury read this. Listen up. Let's see if we can get it here.
Superior case number BA097211. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal J.Simpson not guilty of a crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being, as charged in count 1 of the information.
And you can see on this video, I'm describing it here, the division. This was in the Oprah studio, and you could see that the black women. Here's mainly women here. It's black and white women. No, hardly no men. I didn't see any men in the crowd there. The black women are screaming like they won a Super Bowl. For the record, in my Fort Walton Beach school, very conservative, mostly white people with the race thing. They were all pro OJ there. They were cheering and clapping. We were cheering and clapping because beyond a reasonable doubt, those lawyers were so good. I was young then. I didn't know, but those lawyers were so good in my head, Odette. I'm thinking, I thought about the racist cop, the Mark Furman tapes. I'm thinking about the misusage of the what do you call it? With the gloves there, with the forensics and all that stuff, and all this stuff, and of course the glove not fitting. Obviously, I know now what happened with the glove not fitting. For one thing, he had latex gloves underneath there. For another thing, it shrunk. And for another thing, we found out in the 7-hour documentary that he stopped taking his arthritis medicine or whatnot. This according to his agent, and his hands swollen up. So he had everything working. I didn't know all that at that time. I'm 14, but my dad was really into it. My stepmom was even my mom was really into that trial. That my dad was recording this thing every day. So the reasonable doubt, plus we were all football fans, it really creeped into my head. It was in 1995, Odette, October 3rd, 1995 on a Tuesday. Remember it like it was yesterday. I actually went back and cross-referenced those dates, and people talk about it being the whole race thing and with the, remember we're when this happened in 94, right? We're just about 3 years away from the 91, 92 riots, from the Rodney King thing. I think it happened in 91. I think that riots happened in 92. Means no, never mind. The trial was done in downtown L.A. There's a lot of lack of trust for the L.A. Police Department. And those guys get off of that. Those cops did. Now, I did read later on the Department of Justice came and 2 got convicted on federal civil rights charges. But either way, listen, here's a lady from the documentary. If I can get this to come up here, folks. This is one of the jurors. She's saying, was this person's interviewing him in the Made in America documentary? Was this payback for the Rodney King thing with those cops not getting off? This is the juror, one of the jurors from the OJ trial. Listen 90%. Up.
Do you think that they're members of the jury that voted to acquit OJ because of Rodney King?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
How many of you think felt that way?
Oh, probably 90% of them.
90%? Did you feel that way?
Yes.
That was payback?
Uh-huh.
You think that's right?
She put her hands out like, I don't know. So you had a lot of that going on at the time. Fast forward a few years later, when I go to college, we're talking 2004, 10 years later, I'm in a media law class, and we got in a discussion with our professor, a former lawyer. He specifically he took 30 minutes out of the class because we all got amped up on it. He said, listen, those lawyers for OJ, they made a great case. They made a great case legally. Okay. These are the best lawyers money can buy. None of that was overstated. Jerry Bailey, Dershowitz is wrote. Alan Dershowitz is 85 now, still living. This guy's wrote like a freaking library of law books. He's from Harvard, Barry Scheck, obviously Johnny Cochran, best lawyer. He's dealt with these type of cases before in the LA area. We don't fit, must have quit. Now, he didn't come up with that. Somebody else did, but he presented it pretty well. Best lawyers. Listen, 95 million people, 100 million people. That's Super Bowl numbers, folks. 100 million people watch that verdict in 95, Odette. 100 million people watched that, according to studies, according to ratings. That's why this court TV came about this. Now, I think about this case, and I think of it as if this were a novel, if his life were a novel, he born in the projects outside of San Francisco, grew up, rags to riches, makes it to the NFL, or when he gets the Heisman, makes his NFL, becomes the most marketable player of his time, even better than Ali, Joe Namath. According to this documentary, you could see it. He goes from that to the movies, okay? TV, does football games, very likable, Then he gets accused of the murder, loses everything, loses a civil trial, hiding money from the Goldmans. So and then he goes back to jail for 8 years. A lot of people saying that was kind of like the Trading Places, where the guy, Dan Aykroyd character, he goes broke, and then he got a gun. He's trying to get his merchandise back. The story behind that is he was trying to hide some of his memorabilia from his playing career from the Goldman family because he lost that case. He lost that civil trial, $30 million. He didn't have it. And he was trying to hide that, and he had it in one of these storage sheds, which it didn't get paid up on. The money, this guy picks it up in the auction, according to the documentary. And another friend finds out where he's at in Vegas. The guy, long story short, kind of sets OJ up, and the other guy, he tapes it, and there you go. There's a kidnapping and robbery right there on tape. And some say, some of the former lawyers for the OJ, some of the other lawyers said that was an overcharge. He gets like 8 years for that. Gets out in 2017 and kind of just, hangs out in Nevada, plays golf, and we know that he got prostate cancer and passed away there. But it's one of the most interesting cases of all time. It is the trial of a century. I even got a little clip here from Dave Chappelle. Comedians had a field day with this. This is Dave Chappelle. Very funny thing from one of his Netflix special where he's saying a time where he met O.J. Simpson. This is one of the few times that he met O.J. Simpson. Listen up, everybody.
Close behind him was O.J. Simpson, newly released from jail. The restaurant fell still. I was shocked. I didn't mean to say it out loud, but it just came out. O.J. He stopped, turned around to see who said it, saw my black face, and correctly assumed it was me.
Felt so funny.
I was sitting in the corner of the booth. He leaned over all the white people I was having dinner with and shook my hand. How are you, young man? He looked in my eyes, and I could see in his eyes that he didn't remember meeting me the first time.
Second time.
And then he walked away. And I looked back at my agents, and all of them had nothing short of disgust on their faces. And the only one with the courage to voice their disgust was a woman named Sharon, who used to represent me. How could you, she said. How could you shake hands with that murderer? I said, Sharon, with all due respect, that murderer ran for over 11,000 yards.
Dave Chappelle. So my opinion on all that, essentially, as an older person, after I looked over the evidence and everything, you would have to be really, really biased or not paying the person with the least amount of common sense could know that OJ did this thing. Just a little bit of common sense could have the opinion that he had done it. Again, with the documentary quote, his agent actually said that after he got acquitted, him and this agent had smoked a joint one night, and he said that if Nicole would have never charged him with that knife, that she'd be alive. So that was said. I think a lot of people later on kind of looked at it and thought, well, it looks like that he had gotten away with that, But it is what it is. It's a lot of time has passed on this thing, but I tell you what, just if you looked over the internet like I have today and on TV, it's just as fresh as if this thing just happened. People still arguing about it and everything. But like I said, it's like a Shakespearean tragedy. I mean, a rags to riches, the fall from grace, beating the trial, the love story there, the murder, the heartbreak with the family. And Mr. Goldman, he said something about it today. He was quoted, said it still doesn't bring back his son and everything. But and I'm surprised that he didn't do anything to OJ for this. I mean, he was really that's the father of the waiter who's wrong place, wrong time. He was just returning glasses. That's all he was doing. He was turning she left her glasses there. And I guess he knew who she was. And he tried to return her sunglasses, or I think it was regular eyeglasses, whatever. And, he ended up getting killed. He was 25 and wanting to start his own restaurant and had all the plans ready to do that. And had a bright future ahead, according to his dad, Mr. Goldman. So thought I'd give this some time. Yeah, I put 24 minutes into it because it's a big story. I want to say, I think I even got Stephen A. Smith a big, you would think he was with OJ and all this stuff. Even Stephen A. Smith, listen to what he had to say.
Jail. I know people believe that he committed those murders. I know that if I was on the jury, he would have been under the damn jail. I know that much. I believe he was guilty, but I don't know. I'm talking about based on the evidence that was placed before us during the trial, overseen by Judge Lancito. This is what we saw on national television, and by most accounts, you found yourself believing he was guilty as hell. And in the end, that's what this comes down to. Again, you don't want to say that devoid of a heightened level of sensitivity on this particular day towards his family, who is innocent of all of that stuff. They have nothing to do with it. They can't control his actions, but based on his actions that we all witnessed on trial over national television for months upon months at a time, by and large, the belief is he's guilty. So you're not going to hear nor see an abundance of people feeling a lot of sympathy for him today. The Lord will deal with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not one to judge. Whether he's going to heaven or hell. I mean, he could have asked the Lord to forgive him while he was here. That's between him and God. But, today is April the 11th, folks. This happened in June it did happen on June 13, 1994. So, essentially, in 2 days and 2 months from now would be the 30-year anniversary that this thing happened. This double murder happened that kept everybody talking about it and thinking about it. Practically 1/3 of the country 30 years ago in June would have been the 30-year anniversary of these two murders. So anyways, I thought it was interesting here with the death of J.Simpson, 76 years old. Time flies, folks. I don't know what happens. All righty then. Okay. Now, I mentioned to everybody that switching gears here, I could probably talk all night about John. And I'm going to ask Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez. He's my age. I don't know if he was engaged with that as much as I was. But we'll bring this up. We'll talk about OJ again tomorrow because a lot of you are interested in it, especially my older audience who were around during that time. Okay, Kentucky coach John Calipari pulled a Shaka Smart. Okay, since the last time I talked to you, he has been hired away to the Arkansas Razorbacks. He got out of Dodge, folks. John Calipari got out of Dodge like Shaka Smart. Shaka Smart, former Texas basketball coach. Things are going south. Hey, I would have gave him a job too. Smart looked great. Smart looked smart at VCU. Virginia Commonwealth, they got him to like the Final Four. Takes the job in Texas. Things start going south for a few years. Boom, then he goes to Marquette, a much lesser school, but a little bit better basketball program. He started to win. It turned out to be good for Smart because they're playing well. They won a couple of tournament games. John Calipari, same thing. Thought he may get fired this year. Another first-round loss with all those lottery picks here at the great University of Kentucky basketball program. Gets hired away a few days ago by Arkansas. What I found out today by reading this athletic article that he had at the Final Four at a hotel, basically had dinner with the Tyson. Tyson Chicken. Ever heard of that? The billionaire Tyson. I forgot the guy's name now. See if we can get it up here. Tyson Foods guy here for University of Arkansas. One of their absolute biggest. John H. Tyson, billionaire Tyson Food at a hotel in Phoenix Final Four. Talked to Calipari and taking the job. The Athletic noted that Calipari regretted, who'd been there 15 years, been to many Final Fours, won the national championship, been a train wreck, like probably 5-6 years, getting put out by St. Peter's and Oakland and all that good stuff. But also, again, the Athletic noted that he should have got out of Dodge. He regrets not getting out of Dodge back in 2019, taking the UCLA job. I remember talking about that 5 years ago. But Kentucky offered him a 10-year deal, $83 million. Former San Francisco 49. Now, this is pros, but still, former 49ers head coach Bill Walsh said that 10 years is usually when you hit your, it's time to move on in pro sports. And in the way college is now, maybe that's a time to do it in the college game. Because Bill Walsh, former 49er, orchestrator of the West Coast offense, says people tune you out. Things wear thin, wear stale. And, of course, that's what Calipari said. They needed to hear a different voice. I think it'd be good for me to move on, yada, yada, yada. I've also read that there's a $5 million NIL deal put in to bring in players to Arkansas. So I think he's going to work the transfer portal a little bit more, bring in some older players. Listen, this guy can coach. I said this for the last couple of years talking about Calipari. He is a developer of players. 1996, he developed Marcus Camby and the UMass Minutemen, got them to the Final Four national championship game, only to get put out by then Rick Pitino, University of Kentucky coach. But here lately, these last 4 or 5 years, it's been more about salesman Calipari. Matter of fact, most of his tenure at Kentucky has been salesman Calipari. Bring in the big blue chippers. Luckily, he did get Anthony Davis in, got the right group around him, won that national championship there with that group around Anthony Davis. And now everybody's thinking, well, what about Kentucky? Well, I'm telling you right now, this somewhat caught Kentucky by a little. I could tell this caught them off guard because they're a little slow to react. If you ask me, Danny Hurley, national championship coach from Kentucky or Connecticut, I'll talk about them here in a few minutes, said no chance, even if it was $20 million. Scott Drew from Baylor, remember, 2 or 3 years ago? 3 years ago or whatever, national championship with them. He's going to stay in Baylor. He didn't want to get in that pressure cooker of Kentucky. And I read today, which really kind of turns my stomach. I know my friend Donnie from Hawkinsville, Kentucky, I go to a church with. He's a big Kentucky fan. That Kenny Payne from Louisville head coach, who hasn't done too much of nothing, he's a possible candidate. Then I read that Mark Pope from BYU, which they were in the tournament stuff, but they haven't done a whole lot. He's a possible candidate. That is very Billy Gillispie Kentucky fans. Though Kentucky basketball fans never want to hear that name, Billy Gillispie like hire. The former Texas A&M coach that took over Kentucky, never took the recruiting that serious, never really understood the gravity of a job like this. You know, you got to have a big personality to take on a job like Kentucky. You know, Kentucky is a premier program. It's like Carolina basketball, Kansas basketball, Ohio State football, Alabama football. These are high-end jobs here where you really got to have a presence about you. He was really, really below average. Of course, they fired him and got Calipari. But this Tyson guy from Tyson Foods Billionaire, he had been trying to get Calipari since he left Memphis. And 15 years ago, and of course, Calipari ends up taking that Kentucky job here. Okay. So again, if it's me, My number one guy would be Billy Donovan, former assistant at Kentucky, former two-time national championship winner at Florida. He's in the play-in game at the Chicago Bulls. They don't have the talent to win big with Chicago. He's going to get ousted here in another year or two with the Bulls, even though they really don't got the firepower to really compete for a championship with as bad as Milwaukee is. I don't think they're probably better than a Milwaukee. I really know they're not better than a Boston, and that's in the East. Forget about the West. Let's not even talk Denver or anybody like that. Not into these great Western Conference teams. So Donovan would be my number one guy, Kentucky fans. 58-year-old coach here. Go after Billy Donovan. Make him an offer he cannot refuse. A few others here. Maybe try to linger Jay Wright out of retirement. I think he's still in his early 60s. Wright's in great shape. Maybe you can lure him out of, and then if all else fails, hey, go with the 72-year-old Rick Pitino, who we know can still coach at a very high level. Just a hair away from getting St. John's back into the tournament. Beat a very good Creighton team who beat this national championship team, Connecticut. I think that he would be, now he is up there at age, at 72. He's not your average 72-year-old. I would put a little bit more. I would, like I said, if I couldn't get these other guys I just named, I'd definitely go after Patino. I'm not going after one of these low-end guys, these mediocre Billy Gillespie type guys, because they're going to be gone in 2 or 3 years anyways, if you ask me. Okay, we actually had some games this week, folks. Speaking of Danny Hurley, Connecticut wins their second national championship, as I predicted. Don't watch a lot of college ball. Didn't talk a lot of college basketball. I like to lean on my man Keith Engel, but I was right about Connecticut. As I covered, they covered every single point spread here. A lady at work was asking me, she said, "What do you think about the tournament?" I said, "If you want to bet something, bet Connecticut minus the points. Every game you should be okay." And of course, they delivered most championships of any team the last 25 years. You know, I listened to Mac and Jack have been on their show. Mac McGrath here, Linda McGrath here, out of Connecticut. I was listening to them the other day, and they said, listen, that's all they got going on up there in Connecticut. You know, they don't have a professional team here. They don't have a good football team here. I thought to myself, you know what? They're about like Alabama football of college basketball. That's all. The women's team's dominant for years and years. Gino Auriemma, what's he got? 12 national championships here. He was in a Final Four again this past week here. You know, so they're coached by college basketball, somewhat royalty. Danny Hurley, son of a legendary high school coach and brother of Duke great Bobby Hurley, who's also a coach here. UConn, close enough to New York City to get players, but far away to keep the players focused. Not to mention the fact that Bristol, Connecticut's not too far up the road where ESPN is. So you can kind of understand that Connecticut wasn't going to stay down for long. They've got, again, like an Alabama over the past, 30, 40 years, Alabama, 3 national championships, 3 different coaches here. This is the third. Remember, Kevin Ollie won with Connecticut too. You know, Jim Calhoun's won. Now Danny Hurley, who's won here. So you can kind of see why that the program's great, and now they've got the great coach here. You know, now is the question: will he be better than Calhoun? He's already got. I think Calhoun's got only 2 national championships, but he might have 3. I have to look at that and see. Either way, Hurley's like 51, 52. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. By the way, they also got 14 14 million people, more, again, almost 3 times as much as the NBA Finals. Of course, I'm going to talk about the women's here in a minute. Women's ratings outdid them again. 14 million people. That was impressive. People like dynasties. They do like dynasties. They like excellent basketball. And you had both of that. You had both of that with Connecticut. College basketball has been on a downward swing. This is like a B12 shot to both the men and women's games. I could not believe that they got 14 million for the men's championship. Okay, now, again, South Carolina women, going back to last Sunday, win the national championship. 18 million people watched Caitlin Clark play against the undefeated South Carolina team. Dawn Staley is the coach. 37-0 now. 18 million people. That is wild card playoff game, high-end NFL ratings, regular season. That's a big-time Dallas Cowboy regular season, Cowboys-Niners type of rating right there. 18 million people wanted to watch Caitlin Clark, who did come up short. Were they up 10-15 points early? Too much rebounding, too much size, too much depth for South Carolina. Out-rebounded them 51-29, 48-31 points in the paint. It was just total dominant. They had one player, 6'7", foot tall woman, and she weighed way over 200 pounds. Very good player here, boxing out, getting rebound after rebound after rebound here. And I tell you what, the Caitlin Clark effect is real. Going back 3 or 4 years, I looked at the ratings for the college basketball women's championship games for 3 to 4 million, 3 to 4.8 million, all the way up to 18 million. A lot of that was because of the play in South Carolina last year, beating Carolina, losing to LSU and Angel Reese last year when in the championship game, getting that revenge back on Angel Reese and LSU. Plus that on the way to play that game, they played Connecticut big star coach there, Gino Auriemma. That was a close game. I thought they was going to lose that game last Friday night, the last time I talked to you all. But unbelievable ratings. I mean, that's 3 times more than the World Series, than the NBA Finals. Women's college basketball, people like excellence. We like storylines. We like sense of urgency. That's what the studies say. So again, not to sound like a broken record here, but I hope Adam Silver, I hope he's listening. I hope he's paying attention. I hope he has a meeting with the owners and the Players Association to get this new rule in the NBA back to, or get it to 3 years out of high school. Okay. Get it to 3 years out of high school, and lean more in. They've already did away with the G League. Lean more into NIL and college, and get those. You have a relationship with the players through college as following the players. You know that you're following. You feel like you're going through the journey with them through the 3 years in college, and then out to the NBA. They can help your NBA team maybe a year or two instead of 3 and 4 years outside of college. And your ratings in the NBA will be back up, I would predict, because the quality, there is some quality in the NBA now. It will get back up to the Michael Jordan days, that and staying out of politics. But hey, listen, LeBron's almost done here, you know. There was a report today that, or last week, that Bronny is going to play. He's going to put his name in. He's going to enter the NBA draft, averaging 5 points a game. Yeah, I can see the Lakers taking him in the second round and letting him just kind of come off the bench, play with his dad. I get that. But, no, those are the kind of stories we're keeping up with. A player, just because he's LeBron's son, who averaged 5 points in the college game. This guy needs to play 3 years, you know. Only team that's going to take him is the Lakers in the second round. He's not a first-round talent. He's not developed. Remember, he had the heart condition last year. But my point is, we got to get back to coaching. The Europeans are kicking our butts. The best players in the league are European players. You've got to get more coaching. You've got to get more development before they get to the league. And it's the National Basketball Association. It's not the World Basketball Association, even though you're world champions. And I invite the fact that I love the international game, that we have all those international players. But the local players are really falling behind. And hopefully with this rating spike and everything else that's happened, this is a big wake-up call for the NBA, because I still like the NBA. Okay? All righty then. I've had some few other notes here. Some of these other stories I didn't really get to lean into as much as I wanted to. By the way, Shohei Ohtani, according to reports here, Shohei Ohtani here is, according to federal authorities, have found out that he was not betting, and it was his interpreter. But listen to what I've read today, that his longtime interpreter had been charged with bank fraud after it was discovered he transferred more than $16 million from Ohtani's account on alleged illegal sports book. So I don't know where that for. I mean, you're starting to read some of these others. Ohtani's account, sportsbook, federal authorities announced in the LA courtroom. I'm like a lot of you. I'm not really sure if I believe, I really buy into the fact that Ohtani is totally innocent here. When I first read this last night, that federal authorities weren't going to charge him, they're going to charge. There's a whole list of stuff that the interpreter is going to get charged with. But how can you not know that? How can you not know that much money is being taken out of your account? This thing's still not over. My gut, and is there a possibility that the authorities could be paid off for this? You know, not to sound like a wacky conspiracy theorist, but my thing is with Ohtani, I mean, how can you really get us to believe that somebody can steal that much money from you and not know anything about it and not turn this person in at a later time? You know, that is, it makes you think, you know, Ohtani's bringing in a lot of people he's helping the local Southern California economy, which needs everything they can get because people running away from California like it's on fire. Can you see him saying, you know what, let's just look the other way with this. Let's just take his word for it here. Let's just buy in to this thing. You know, I'm beginning to, I'm not put that in stone per se, but man, 16 million, where'd this 4.5 million thing come from? You know, I mean, maybe the guy was really dialed in. I know he's married, or he had a fiance. Wouldn't the fiance, you think she would be asking him, hey, what's going on here? You know, what? But maybe he was a private person. He didn't look at his account that much. I'm not sure. It seems hard to believe. This is a developing story, okay? But right now, from what I read, I haven't heard anything back from the MLB that he's not going to be in trouble criminally. Let's see what the MLB does. Of course, as I mentioned to you before, I know the MLB don't want to find out anything. But again, I can't guarantee that he's going to be in the clear on this thing, okay? Also, I did read, by the way, this story broke here recently, just before I came on, that Tom Brady teases return to NFL despite a 23-year NFL career. Brady might not completely be done with football on the Deep Cut podcast, Brady spoke, and I got this from NFL Pro Football Network. Brady spoke about a potential return to the game, and it could look like, for what it would be, one of the oldest players in the history. He says, I'm not opposed to it. So maybe he could come out and play for the Raiders. I don't know. If I'm talking to Brady, I'm saying, man, don't do that. Just go into broadcasting. You don't want to get yourself hurt. You don't want to get yourself humiliated out there. I don't think that happened in his last few games. What he should have did, Tom Brady, he should have retired after they won that Super Bowl in 2020. But he just could not let it go. He just couldn't let it go. And I'm sure that's what cost him his marriage with Giselle. Also in news today, and I was going to go deeper in some of these stories, but I just didn't because this OJ thing was fascinating. Just everything around that. Nick Chubb, running back for Cleveland. We all know, gruesome injury on Monday Night Football early in the year last year in the Pittsburgh game, and where his knee looked like a player for the Steelers here hit his knee there. Was it Michael Fitzpatrick here? Turned it in sideways. Very gruesome injury. It looks like the Joe Theismann type of injury, Instead of, like I would have done in this particular situation, I would have paid all his contract out. But this guy's one tough son of a gun. He's coming back from this injury. He wants to play again. So now that he's wanting to play again, the cold, hard reality of the NFL, because the Browns are paying Deshaun Watson so much money that now Nick Chubb has reworked the deal with the Browns, reducing his salary hit from $15 million to $6 million. The deal gives him an opportunity to earn up to $12.2 million in 24 based on performance levels he had achieved prior to his injury. I just don't know. Maybe he comes back and wins. A lot of teams would have probably worked out some type of injury settlement. Maybe he is getting a better deal than I'm letting on. But either way, I thought he was done. He still may be done. It's one thing when you're working to get out there. It's another thing when you actually go out there and hit. He may be hesitant. If you saw that injury, you'll know what I'm saying. You'll get where I'm coming from with that. So there's a few other stories that I'm monitoring. This Dak Prescott story where there's no talks of his extension. He's coming into a contract year. The Cowboys picked 24th overall. Now all of a sudden we're hearing about Michael Parsons wearing thin. As I mentioned, and people said it was stupid, could you see a package for them to move up in the draft? I think they'll probably live with Parsons. He's a great player. They want to re-sign Parsons. That being said, picking at 24, other great players have been drafted down in the 20s, okay? Aaron Rodgers dropped from 1 all the way down to the 20s. He played under, of course, he backed up far for 3 years. So could you do something like that where he comes into a contract year, they draft a guy? What about a Michael Penix or somebody like that, a Bo Nix, somebody of that nature? Would they take somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round? But there is a chance they could, a real chance that they could draft the quarterback. Now, what if Drake May falls? Merrill Hodge has been just really destroying May. Have not heard a lot of good posts. What do you call it? I haven't heard a lot of good post comments, post regular season about Drake May. Not what I was hearing this time last year. Could he fall? The Dallas put some kind of package together, move up, because they've hit a ceiling with these players. Maybe the coaching staff and the general managers and everybody, which I don't think so, because everything goes through one guy, Jerry Jones. Maybe they're watching Sports Scope. You know, I put this out there about, a month ago? I got my clip there where I said I would package Michael Parsons and Dak Prescott together to get one of them top picks, particularly the number 1 pick. Of course, we all know now, although I guess it's still open until the draft, right? You put in Michael Parsons, you put in Dak, and you offer the Chicago Bulls. Try to get that 1 pick. And just roll the dice with Caleb Williams. And if I'm the Bears, man, I mean, you're going to give me a ready-made player in this prime of Michael Parsons and Dak Prescott for that number 1 pick. And you still got your 24th pick. Maybe you can get something else out of them other than the number 1 pick. It's food for thought. Probably not going to happen, but this Dak Prescott thing, something could happen there. And I may bring that up tomorrow with Carlos, Mad New Yorker Chavez. Folks, if you like the show, share the show. I'll be back with the Mad New Yorker tomorrow at the same time, same place, here on Sports Scope.